All right. Our next story still keeps us in South Africa as the country has hit its first snag in an attempt to extradite the infamous Gupta brothers who have been linked to the state capture allegations and billions of rands being siphoned from the state. Authorities were there this week. They were told by the United Arab Emirates that they have denied the country's extradition request for Rajesh and Atul Gupta.
Well, Rajesh and Atul are accused of benefiting from their link with former President Jacob Zuma as well as fraudulent operations including state capture, corruption. The Gupta brothers left the country after Zuma was ousted in 2018 and were arrested in the United Arab Emirates in June 2022. South Africa's opposition parties have expressed concern over the country's criminal justice system's ability to hold the Gupta brothers responsible for allegations of fraud and corruption. But before we bring our guest, here is what South Africa's Justice Minister initially had to say. Well, when he was asked the opportunities of ensuring that these cases will be sorted, he did mention that don't forget that they have cases to answer, that of the Gupta brothers, and not forget that of Thabo Bester as well.
Right, we will have a guest joining us shortly, but let's take a look at this. Right, here, these are some facts, of course, about the Gupta family. The Gupta family is a wealthy Indian-born family with business interests in South Africa. They own a business empire spanning computer equipment, media and mining, and is synonymous with corruption in South Africa. They have been sanctioned by multiple countries for their activities. We also have that the brothers have been accused. Of course, these are some of the facts that we have given you, but let's take a look at this clip very quickly before we have our guest join us.
So with extradition is what we're dealing with in the case of the Gupta brothers and the Bushiri matter. You will remember that those have been charged in our courts. They must undergo trial in South Africa. So the difference with the Bester person, he has already been charged, trialed and convicted and escaped from prison. So when he has escaped and he goes to another country, it becomes a clear case of deportation back to South Africa to continue to serve his prison sentence. We can then deal with the issue of escape and all those things when he is here. So that is deportation. There is no court process in Tanzania.
All right, that's what was said as regards the cases of Bester and the Gupta brothers. But joining us this morning to discuss this further is the CEO of the Organization on Doing Tax Abuse, Wayne Duvenage. Good morning, Wayne, and thank you for joining us.
Nice to be with you today.
All right, the Gupta extradition hearing in the United Arab Emirates was unsuccessful. Now, do we know what the official explanation for this unsuccess is?
Well, we don't actually. It's quite intriguing to find responses from the authorities that there's a lack of clarity as to why this request for extradition was denied. They just say that we didn't meet all the requirements, but we've been assured by the various authorities, the NPA, the National Prosecuting Authorities, Shamila Batoy, and others saying and the minister saying they're resolute around this fact that they'd followed all the due process. So why would the UAE then allow them to be released is the big question. And why weren't the South African authorities based in the UAE, based in Dubai, why did they not have their fingers on the pulse as to what was actually happening here? So questions from both sides, I think, and I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it in due course. It would be very concerning if the authorities in South Africa have dropped the ball on this one, because these two brothers are very important in being held accountable for state capture in South Africa.
All right, well, there's a report by the African Intelligence which says the brothers were seen in Switzerland in late March, whereas the United Arab Emirates authorities are insisting they are in custody waiting the extradition. Also, not too far off, there are also statements made that they are equally citizens of Pacific Island, Vanuatu, to be precise. What do you make of that? Do you believe they're still in custody?
It would seem not. It would seem that they are at large, that they are either in Switzerland or we know they've applied for asylum or residence in Cameroon and the Central African Republic. So again, lots of information, but lack of clarity. And we need to know. We need to know exactly where they are and how. I mean, they're supposed to still be on the Interpol's red list, as far as we understand. We understand that they are traveling on South African passports. So it would be very interesting to see how they are getting around the world and why the Interpol red lists are not working.
We see that so far no one has been held accountable for these fraudulent activities. The question that comes to mind is that as things stand, is it safe to say that the government is maybe losing the battle against extraditing the brothers, or is there a possibility that this could still happen in the nearest future?
Yeah, I think we are losing the battle. You know, one even wonders whether the brothers were incarcerated since June last year and only released now in February. Again, just this lack of clarity. And if we're not going to be able to get on top of this and find out where they are and get the extradition done properly from whichever country they're in, and if we don't have extradition treaties, whatever other means we can use, international policing systems like Interpol, we need to, install some confidence and faith in the South African Republic, in the public of the country, who have lost a lot of trust in their government here in South Africa. And government needs to restore its credibility, and it doesn't seem to be doing a good job of that.
All right, finally, on Friday, there were calls made to Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamola to actually step down from his position, especially by South Africans, stating that he has failed in establishing the fact that corruption would be wiped out, especially during this tenure. Do you think this would in any way affect Cyril Ramaphosa as the president of South Africa's tenure as South Africa's president?
Yeah, look, I think everything that is happening with regards to poor governance in this country doesn't bode well for the president. And these types of situations with the Department of Justice under Ronald Lamola are, quite frankly, serious. With Thabo Bester escaping the prisons and these extradition treaties and extradition requests failing at this alarming rate, quite frankly. This shouldn't be happening. So it doesn't bode well for the president at all. But it's not just the Department of Justice, it's the Department of Transport, it's the Department of Finance. There's so many serious concerns in the management of South Africa right now that I think the president and the ruling party are going to be under a lot of pressure in the next year's elections.
Well, you said it right. They are going to be under a lot of pressure, especially because the ANC did promise to fight corruption, but it seems that a lot of South Africans have the opinion that it might have increased in this time. But we count down to the next elections, and we certainly will be following up with this story. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.